The most profound transformations in life do not begin with revelation, but with exhaustion, not with clarity as you know it, but with collapse. Not because you lack capacity or discipline, but because the structure you built your life around can no longer contain the version of you that is emerging. When a woman becomes pregnant, the first sign isn't always joy. It's not a glow. It's not even excitement. It's not clarity that, oh, this is what she has been waiting for, even though she was actually waiting. It's first fatigue, it's depletion, it's burnout. She would likely diagnose this as everything but pregnancy. She may even think that maybe she's caught the flu, and things like that. Now, this is the reality of human evolution and what I've also come to identify as threshold moments within my work. There comes a time where the weight of your highest vision and capacity begins to disrupt your current patterns of being, where your existing identity, your current goals, and your useful and consistent strategies start to seem redundant, where you feel like there's got to be something more, or just the awareness that there is a newness that exists beyond your known knowledge and lived experience. There is potential that is unrealized that is bursting out of you for expression. And the reality is we come to these points continuously throughout our lives. Yet I found that we consistently misread the signals. We blame our jobs, our relationships, our health, our circumstances. We blame anything external that we can point to as the source of this reality. We reach for familiar explanations. We think about it as maybe it's stress or it's burnout or maybe just the overwhelm that comes from a project that has reached its deadline, and things like that. We explain this with everything but a recognition of the existential interruptions that's actually happening within. We plan escapes, we reorganize our lives, we try to build better systems, all just to restore the balance we once knew. Now, the thing is, traditional self help, as well as a possible nature for you as a high performer, right, will teach you to arrive at where your soul demands through optimization. It will teach you to become better, to, modify your behavior, form new habits, set bigger goals, craft a vision, design better systems, seek accountability, but all within your current self structure with the aim to lead you into what next, into what is trying to emerge from within you. And this is where the problem lies because what if you're no longer meant to become better, but to become new? Or what if you're no longer meant to optimize, but to do something different, to recognize the purity of what is brewing within you? And to ascend into new terrains of brilliance, to express who you are and what you do at the highest level possible. What if the outcomes you seek don't come from being better, but from being genius, but from being new, from recognizing what's emerging, what needs to be mastered, and what your soul truly demands? What if the systems that you are leveraging to get yourself out of the turmoil are the very systems that are keeping you sinking deep in the same turmoil that you're experiencing? Listen, the optimization paradigm, especially what is propagated in traditional self help and personal development, assumes that you are a fixed entity that needs improvement. That is, let's just modify, let's just habit stack. But the reality is, when you come into threshold moment, it will show that you are not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be unveiled. It will reveal that the exhaustion that you feel is not from not being good enough, but from trying to squeeze an expanding consciousness into a container that no longer fits. So it's never that you're not good enough, it's that you're even too big for the systems that you're leveraging. You have grown bigger than your current performance models. Your potential has exceeded your operational capacity. This is why traditional goal setting fails at threshold moments, because you cannot plan your way into your next iteration. You can't plan your way into your next evolution, your next breakthrough or groundbreaking work. You cannot habit stack your way into genius. The very foundations of who you think you are must be questioned, it must be dissolved and then reconstituted. You see, most high achievers spend their entire lives optimizing their limitations and decorating an exhausted version of themselves. They take on more awards, more degrees, more recognition. Maybe I need to write more books and all the aesthetics that mistake movement for meaning and productivity for purpose. Right? You would find that when you step into these seasons that demands more from you, that calls out a you that you've probably not met, or that seems real but far at the same time, your old ideas, your old systems and strategies would seem low resolution. Even insights that used to resonate suddenly stops landing. You may even struggle to do and embrace the simplest of things. But then there's the question, is this all that there is? There's got to be something more because you can sense it. You can sense the presence within you that's larger than your current expression, a version of yourself that exists somewhere beyond your lived experience, that seems real even when you can't touch it. It's like knowing there is another room in your house but not being able to find the door. You see, it's like being haunted by possibilities you can't name and frustrated by a gap you can't bridge because you are aware of it. There's something more. You know this with utmost certainty, but the pathway remains hidden. You're capable of more, built for more, meant for more, yet confined by something you can't identify or navigate. This isn't dissatisfaction with what you have. It isn't dissatisfaction with where you've come. Rather, it's a recognition of what and who you are. Your soul is outgrowing its current container, and the friction you feel is the space between who you've been and what's emerging. But without a map or a blueprint for what's occurring, you're left wandering in the wilderness, so to speak, of your own transformation. After years, and I mean years, tons of hours of studying and patterns of personal evolution, researching into the unseen patterns of human transformation, and also guiding high level performers and navigating critical thresholds in my own life and work, I created a framework called the Genius Arc. And the design of this framework is to be a real time map of human transformation to help you locate where you are, understand what's really happening underneath the disorientation, underneath the fog, underneath the turmoil, right? Underneath what seems like existential crisis, and know exactly what's required of you next. Now, here's the thing, yeah, it's not a step by step process. It's not, they are not ladders that you're necessarily climbing or phases that you move through once and then, you tick it off and you graduate from. No, they are recurring thresholds because the design of human development, it's not linear, it's spiral. It's an ongoing integration, right, of mystery before mastery, of necessary confusion before clarity. There would always be a recurring threshold. This map simply serves as a guide, as a design, to unveil to you where you are and what is required for the position that you're in on the arc. And each of the stages within this arc, it has its own signals, it has its own demands. It represents a complete cycle of emergence in itself, where you must first deconstruct who you've been before you can construct who you're meant to be. So the first stage on the arc, or the first movement on the arc, is what I refer to as the genius threshold. Now, this is the breakdown moment where what worked before stops working. Here, you might feel stuck, numb, confused, or over it, not because you're off track, but because there is a misfit between your current self structure and the scale of what wants to emerge. The genius threshold basically spirals through every point in the arc. At every stage, every movement, you're coming to a specific threshold because it marks the critical moment when your soul refuses to be contained by who you've been. So, this isn't necessarily a step to pass, but one to experience through different evolutionary phases. So, it's both the gateway at the same time the guardian. But you don't worry, as we keep going on this journey, I'm going to show you the nuances of the genius threshold as the gateway and also as the guardian within other stages. Now, the second stage is what I refer to as genius reclamation, right? As the name implies, it is reclaiming your genius. This is where the buried parts of you come to the surface. The ambitions that you downgraded, the parts of your voice you silenced, even the behaviors or patterns you've outgrown but still identify with. This is where I introduce you to what I call the ego constructed avatar. Not as a toxic part of you, but as an aspect of you that is necessary to understand, to identify, and to integrate. And this phase is the most uncomfortable, really, because you are descending to ascend, right? You are going into the abyss, into the fires of your own soul to step out, in full expression. You're learning how to ask better questions, how to make sense of what's resurfacing and what it's pointing towards. You see, your internal system is basically retrieving the raw materials needed for your next construction. Because while I agree that what got you here may not take you there, right? And that's true. At the same time, what got you here is intelligence and the blueprints that you need to get you there, right? You always need to evaluate, see where you're coming from, understand the wisdom in where you're coming from. Now, the third stage is genius expression. This is where a lot of people want to begin, and this is where you begin to embody the integration of everything that you've reclaimed and transform it into your unique contribution to the world, because genius is not designed to be contained but to be witnessed. It's designed to be expressed. This is where creation starts to happen from newness. It's the emergence of new forms, new language, and even new standards, not for the sake of branding or visibility, even though those are byproducts, but because it's what your system now requires to express its actual weight. This is where you create work that is unmistakably yours. This is where you build out signature work. You're able to create something that has your own stamp on it. And now the final stage is genius leadership, which is where your individual transformation becomes a catalyst for collective evolution, not as a performance metric or influence as we know it, but as genius embodied. And at this stage, you really lose capacity to simply raise followers. It's the reason why it's called genius leadership. Or you lose the capacity to raise followers or to simply raise echoes of your own voice, because you are able to awaken authentic genius in others by simply being, right? Your energy becomes infrastructure, your frequency becomes consequence, it becomes a force field. Here's the thing though, if you misread where you are on the arc or your unique movement, what will happen is you would reach for the wrong tools and you would end up deepening your dissonance instead of resolving it. It's the reason why when you come into certain threshold moments, it's as though the things that you used to do before that will get you out of that turmoil simply aggravates it. So this is why I've come to understand that most transformation attempts fail and most people plateau. It's not because they lack commitment. It's not because they lack discipline. In fact, discipline is not what we think it is. It's also not because they lack capability. Rather, it's because they are using the wrong framework for where they actually are. And nobody is really disciplined. Everybody is disciplined at something. It's really about what? That's by the way. Each stage of the arc requires its own wisdom, its own approach, and its own unique threshold. They are not steps or phases that you just tick off, like I said. It's cyclical, spiral, it's alive, and it moves with you as you ascend. Now, my work is to help you diagnose these phases accurately, to understand what's emerging, what's being required of you, and how to move forward without defaulting back into strategies that once served you but now limit you. Because this is what a lot of people tend to do. You've always known you were made for more. I want to help you experience that, right? You felt the weight of your potential. You've sensed that your evolution operates by different rules than what traditional development or personal development teaches. You've even experienced probably that there is a kind of texture and difference in your own learning appetite, what you crave for. That's why I created this app, and it's also why I'm showing up in front of your face. There's really a whole lot to chat about. This is a really deep, integrative, and holistic work, and I'm truly, truly excited to take pull back the curtains and take you into my world of thoughts, and application, right? So that you can engineer the results that you want to see in your life. So yes, on this channel, I'll be teaching Genius Arc in detail so you can master your evolution, architect your outcomes, and build out work that's unmistakably you. So do subscribe, share this with a friend, your team, your community members. This is going to be a ride, and I really can't wait to guide you on this journey.